The first big goal of the presentation is to gain the attention and interest of the audience and to make them interested in what topic have to suggest. Chyntia Thurlow used the method of gaining the attention and interest is to arouse the curiosity of the audience. People are curious about this. They may be interested in series of statements that add to their curiosity about the topic of her speech. For example, she said, "What if I told you that breakfast being the most important meal of the day was wrong? What I told you it is more important when you eat than what you eat." Firstly, the idea of credibility must be understood as the interpretation of the recipient. Speaker may be the most knowledgeable, compassionate, and trustworthy speaker in the world on a given subject. But if the audience does not see as credible, then speaker's experience will not matter. The type credibility she used was initial credibility. She provided an introduction contains brief self-introduction about herself as she relates the subject and her motivation to speak. Building initial credibility helps prepare the audience for what's going to happen during the speech. The initial credibility is significant, of course, because it will affect the receptivity of the audience or how well they will listen and be receptive to the ideas of the speaker. Initial credibility can also be affected by the impression that the speaker is not well dressed, prepared, or assured at the outset. Initial credibility is why you are going to need and offer your introductory matter. The first main point is proven health benefits of intermittent fasting due to weight loss, physical and mental health. When the body is running away from the main energy store, body fat rather than regularly incoming fast absorbing carbs, the body uses a safe and well-regulated energy supply. Intermittent fasting has also been shown to help people eat less in the evening. For example, Chyntia Thurlow said that eating all day long overtaxes our pancreas and our digestive system. It overtaxes so much that it cannot work properly. And it cannot work properly. We cannot absorb our food or the nutrition in that food. Another really important restriction when it comes to meal frequency or how frequently we are eating. The second main point is tips for coping with hunger during intermittent fasting. Based on her speech, Chyntia used the 16 per egg method. This approach limits the eating window to 8 hours a day and expand the fasting window to 16 hours a day. Chyntia said, when we are talking about intermittent fasting, it's fairly simple. If you skip breakfast, so in the morning, you can reduce your carbohydrate intake by 20 to 40%. The typical time frame that I recommend to my female patient is a 16 hours a day fasted with an 8-hour feeding window.
Hello, my name is Wendy Joseph, metric number 261681. I want to discuss question 4 and 5. There are 5 basic patterns of organization that more often used by public speakers, which are chronological order, spatial order, causal order, problem solution order, and topical order. Firstly, speeches that are arranged chronologically follow a time pattern. They may narrate a series of events in a sequence in which they happen. Chronological order is also used in speeches that explain a process or demonstration of how to do something. Secondly, spatial order is a method of speech organization that follow a directional pattern. For example, the main point proceeds from top to bottom, left to right. Thirdly, causal order is a speech that the main point to show a cause-effect relationship. We have two main points, which is one dealing with the causes of the event while the other one dealing with its effects. The speaker use problem solution order in a speech is divided into two main parts, which first show the existence and seriousness of a problem, in a second present a workable solution to the problem. In the speaker, Chyntia Thurlow, for the first part, she talked about problem that women have to accept weight gain is as a normal function of aging. Then, she gave solution for this problem by practice intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting can help fuel fat loss, improve interpersonal relationship, and self-esteem. Moreover, intermittent fasting is free, it's flexible, and it's simple. Furthermore, the speaker used chronological order in her speech that explain a process or demonstration of how to do something. For example, her speech, How Fasting Can Reduce Our Weight. We are fasted, insulin levels are low, and we can tap into fat store for energy. Through this, she elaborated organizedly the process of how by practice intermittent fasting can lose our weight. Besides, through the speech, speaker using language clearly. By using this language, audience can easily understand the speech the speaker given. It is important to speaker using language clearly because we did not know the audience that we must give speech to them. It's like different race, religions, ages, genders, and so on. Every speaker needs to use a great explanation so that the audience understand what they are speaking about. It can get rid from misunderstood the problem. The speaker create rhythm of language to enhance the impact of words. She used repetition, which means reiterating the same word or set of the words at the beginning or end of successive clauses or sentences. For example, so meal timing and how frequently we are eating is absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial. The word absolutely crucial is being repeated twice. This is mean meal timing very importantly. We need to focus about because she enhanced this by repeating the words twice. Not only that, Chyntia Thurlow, the speaker, clearly mentioned in her speech about that the strategy of intermittent fasting is not good for everyone. There are individuals that cannot doing this strategy. There are someone who is breeder diabetic or difficult to control diabetes, child and adolescent of age above 70 years, pregnant women have chronic heart issues such as kidney or renal issues, and someone who have disordered relationship with food, whether it is anorexia, bulimia, or binge eating. If you have low body mass index and recently been in the hospital, you cannot try intermittent fasting at home.
Hi, my name is Syaidah Nur Akila binti Jais and my metric number is 262014. I will continue with connective point. According to Lucas, connective is a word or phrase that connects the idea of a speech and indicate the relationship among them. There are 4 types of connective, which are transition, internal preview, internal summaries, and signposts. The speaker, Chyntia Thurlow, uses a few connective in delivering her speech. Based on the video, the speaker uses transition, signposts, and internal summaries throughout her speech. Transition is a phrase term that means a speaker has completed one thought and moving to another thought. For example, In the speaker's speech, she said, "Let's talk about some statistics as they pertain to women and healthy aging." This is to alert the audience that the speaker has finished her previous point and moving to another one. Another example is the phrase, "When we were talking about that," indicate that the speaker is currently focusing only on the specific point, which is different from the previous one. Besides that, the speaker also used internal summaries as connective. The internal summaries are reflective of what they have just learned. The example that Chyntia Thurlow uses in her speech is, "Now, we want to make sure that I briefly touch on some of the practical implications for how you would go about studying intermittent fasting." This phrase is her way in order to summarize that what she has just talked about is the practical implication. The speaker also uses signpost, which is a brief statement that indicates where a speaker is in the speech or that focus attention on the key point. Asking questions is especially effective as a signpost as they encourage subliminal response that engage the audience more in the conversation. For example, how do we proactively address this statistic without quick fixes? But when you are ready to eat, what do you eat? This type of connective doesn't require the audience to answer because the speaker just trying to get the attention in order to bring the audience to the next point. In our opinion, the speaker has successfully delivered her speech by using good connective to connect all the ideas. It can be seen that the type of connective used by the speaker are good choices as it makes her speech understandable and clearer. It also helps the audience to get the picture of what exactly the speaker trying to explain. The structure of the speech also seems well organized and full prepared. Thus, it can be said that the connective are effectively used. Next is speaker voice. For a public speaker, having a golden voice is certainly an asset. There are some aspects of voice that need to be controlled while giving a speech. There are volume, pitch, rate, pauses, vocal variety, pronunciation, articulation, and dialect. For the first aspect, that is volume, Chyntia has delivered her speech with softness, which is not too loud as the speech were delivered in a hall which is not too big, and even with those softness voice of her voice, her speech still can be understandable. Next is voice pitch. There are few times where the speaker's pitch are changed. As example, when she tried to say how crucial the practical of is in intermittent fasting, but her rate or speed while speaking are just moderate. Not too fast and not too slow as we still can understand and catch up with her along the speech and did not get bored. Other than that, pauses aspect are implied in the speech. Pauses means a momentary break in the vocal delivery of a speech. Pauses is one of the challenges while giving a speech, which may be signal of the end of a thought unit, give an idea to sink in and to lend dramatical impact to a statement. As example, in the beginning, the speaker start with statement and then pause for a while, letting the audience dotting with the statement and then let them laugh on the statement. Along the speech, the speaker does not have any vocalized pause like or which can create negative perception about the speaker intelligence. Next element is vocal variety. The speaker, Chyntia Thurlow, do have changes in her speaker's rate, pitch, and volume. It shows that she delivered her speech well with variety of voice and expressiveness. In point of pronunciation, we agree that the speaker's pronunciation for every word are well pronounced. Usually, pronunciation and articulation are misunderstood as the same, but actually, both aspects are not identical at all. Articulation is the failure to form particular speech sounds crisply and distinctly, which led to mispronunciation. Along the speech, Chyntia has spoke with careful as she always continued her speech word by word without combining it to be like "let me," which actually is "let me." Last aspect is dialect. Dialect is a variety of language distinguished by variation of accent, grammar, and vocabulary. The speaker is a Western from Greenville who speaks general American in her speech, where the international listener like us still can understand the dialect.
Assalamualaikum and good morning to Zahril. My name is Nurul Ala binti Muhammad Shukri. My metric number is 261873. Okay, first and foremost, the speaker's body during the speech can be figured through personal appearance, movement, gestures, and eye contact. As we know, personal appearance plays an important role in speech making. This is because the audience always see you before they hear you. That's why you should dress and groom properly. Based on the top, we can see that the speaker has been worn a dark grey sleeveless dress with minimal pattern. For your information, the dark color tend to alert power more than bright color as it demonstrates the speaker as a credible presenter. Next, the speaker movement on the stage can clearly be seen when she started her talk by looking straight forward to the audience in the center of the room, and after a few seconds she shifts her focus to the audience in front of her on the right side and also on her left side. The purpose of her movement is to ensure that she engages with her audience. Besides that, the speakers also show her facial expressions by having a broad smile on her face when convey her message to the audience. Next, gesture. When people interact, they make a gesture. A gesture is the motions of the hands and arms during a speech. Based on the top, we can see that the speaker's gestures at the start and at the end of her conversation. Therefore, the speakers need to ensure that her gesture is appear naturally. Okay, the last one is eye contact. Eye contact is a direct visual contact with different eyes of another person. Okay, eye contact is a very significant during a speech. For example, we can see that the speaker able to sustain her eye contact with her listeners. As a result, she can establish a connection and as well as she can improve her concentration. As for reasoning, the speaker had relied most on the causal reasoning. For instance, she had mentioned that she had seen tremendous shift in health and wellness escalating rates in obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Therefore, she tries to relate the relationship between weight gain and its impact to the health. Besides that, she also used fallacy. First of all, fallacy is an error of reasoning. Based on the top, we can see that she has used invalid analogy and bandwagon. Okay, invalid analogy is something that we compare which are not essentially alike, while bandwagon is assumed that just because something is popular doesn't mean that it is good, right, and suitable for all people. For example, Chyntia keep talking about intermittent fasting, which are great for those who are struggling with weight gain. Lastly, the type of emotional appeal that the speaker used during her talk was developing vivid example. She was talking about escalating weight gain rates in America, but actually what the speaker actually said when something like weight gain impact our health by causing obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Besides that, she also used emotional language by saying that intermittent fasting was cool as it's free, flexible, and simple. So her purpose, she want to ensure that her audience feeling happy to hear about the advantage of intermittent fasting.
In closing remarks, a speaker should let his or her audience know that the speech is coming to an end. Concluding a speech abruptly is too sudden and will leave your audience puzzled and unfulfilled. When you want to end a speech, you may use briefly such as to conclude or in conclusion. In the video, Chyntia Thurlow ends her speech emotionally by starting, "The biggest pain point for female patients is weight gain. This is the truth that being weight gain is pain." So, she mentioned that this to make the audience feel emotional and start to think about intermittent fasting. Through this word, she also wants all of her audience start to worry about their health, avoid obesity, and start try intermittent fasting at home because it's simple, flexible, and free. In the video, speaker ended her speech smoothly. She summarized her speech by mentioning the fact that intermittent fasting is simple, flexible, and free option that easier to try at home. The value of summary is its explicit restate the central idea one last time, so it make the audience understand and remember her speech.
The last one is how the speaker reinforced the idea. In order to have a good conclusion, the speaker also must reinforce the central idea. Based on the speech, it can be seen that the speaker managed to end her speech flawlessly and impactful. The first technique used by the speaker is summarize her speech. Summarizing speech is by restating the main point like how the speaker did. The speaker sum up by reminding that intermittent fasting technique is simple, flexible, and free option in order to encourage the audience to try practicing it after the speech. Toward the very end, she told the audience how passionate she is into intermittent fasting and how she wished her audience can discuss this matter with their own patient later. She also added to support her reinforcement with a dramatic statement that is, the biggest pain point for my female patient is weight gain. I have a fantastic strategy to help with this, but I don't want you to buy into another $50 container of protein powder or the hottest weight loss supplements that is out there. To show that it is enough just by practicing intermittent fasting without having to spend on product that will not maintain the weight for a long term. This method used by the speaker are appropriate for the speech. Thank you.